Greetings, y'all. Today's program is going to be in English. And just let me leave a message for those who speak Tigrinya. إذا لمعتنا إنجليزية program يختكون أنت هنقبرينا نزيئة بإنجليزية مستملشنا لون دكتور روبن بدحريقو ترجمنا حسابنا مسألكم تعقسونا نبل أما حساب ترجمنا مسألكم عيو غزادة خبكم إذا شمحبون إرترا وسي بإنجليزية بخمي يكون ترجمكم حاجة زاد ليتن الله خبتي وإذا مسكم نجار زار ربا زنببكو كله قدم كومنا أبوي تايتس نفوجهم سرحنا نقبؤنا بحكي كميديا واتش جروب صبوق يكون حماق يكون ولا نصيف حزنا لكم ممسائي تفل لي أبزي أب AAN ويأنتر عمس نكالس أكوماسينا كمزو واحد كيرنا مقراب نبنا قدفوه نايلومي ميديا مكتتا الجلي media watch group. All right, let's move on to the program at hand. Today's focus, AN's attention is going to be towards Dr. Michael Rubin of American Enterprise Institute, a think tank research group. He has been dispatched to write opinion pieces and conduct interviews in Eritrean social media circuits. Three main areas of our focus will be Dr. Rubin's opinion piece, titled "It is Time to Get Serious About Eritrea," his interview with Erisat's The Power of One, and his book, Dancing with the Devil. First thing first, let us provide a definition of what a think tank is. So a think tank is a research organization that conducts research and advocacy on political and social policy issues. Think tank can influence policy making at the local, national, and international levels. So, for example, there are conservative think tanks, right-leaning think tanks, that is, like Heritage Foundation, Foreign Policy Research Institute, Cato Institute, and the like. Let me just say a little about Enterprise. It was founded in 1938. The organization is aligned with conservatism, but does not support political candidates. That's what it claims. And American Enterprise Institute advocates in favor of private enterprise, limited government, and democratic capitalism. The American Enterprise Institute for Public Policy Research, known simply as the American Enterprise Institute, is a center-to-right think tank based in Washington, D.C. that researches government, politics, economics, and social welfare. Now, let's enter to Dr. Michael Rubin's world of politics. Recently, Dr. Rubin has been making a worrying noise by nosing into Eritrea's affairs. He wrote an opinion piece titled "It is Time to Get Serious About Eritrea" by Dr. Michael Rubin, in which he forcefully attempts to show the West in general and the United States in particular that the regime in Eritrea must be rid of. In other words, must be toppled. He wants to change the government, the structure of the government. His justification is how Eritrea destabilizes the region. I'm quoting him now. "It is one thing to condemn your compatriots to misery. It is another thing to spread it." While Biden was willing to rehabilitate Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, a man responsible for the deliberate starvation of hundreds of thousands of Tigrayans, he ignores that Isaias, as Abiy's partner and mentor, is not a signatory to Ethiopia's tenuous ceasefire. Do you smell a rat here? I do. He's already telling us who his potential funders are. Notice the key word here, hundreds of thousands of Tigrayans. Let us continue quoting the man. He adds, "The Eritrean army continues to treat Tigray as the Russian army treats eastern Ukraine. The killing of World Health Organization Director Tedros Adhanom's uncle by Eritrean troops made headlines, but it is a story spread or repeated thousands of times over against lesser-known Tigrayans. That Abiy allows such Eritrean actions on Ethiopian territory shows his insincerity, incompetence, or impotence in collaboration. Ethiopian nationals talk big, but Abiy has subordinated 118 million Ethiopians to 6 million Eritreans. Here, 2, the same thing. Notice how he injects one prominent Tigrayan figure to inform his readers about the killing of World Health Organization Director Dr. Tedros Adhanom's uncle, for crying out loud, was killed by Eritrean troops. A killing of one man was going to be substantiated into marking or wishing to mark Eritrea as a rogue state. That's exactly what he wants to do, but to which we'll return a little later. But the ending of the paragraph is a curious one. Here's what it says. Abiy has subordinated 118 million Ethiopians to 6 million Eritreans. Now, notice here, too, how he spins it. He doesn't say anything about the 27 years rule of TPLF that originates from minority population but jumps ship on Eritrea, a sovereign nation that had no option but to defend its territorial integrity and its population from harm's way. It was basically just trying to protect its people and its territorial integrity, because TPLF was ready to invade Eritrea, as the slogan during the war, the song that I should remind you of, that went as follows: "We will not stop until we reach Asmara," was the song, the capital of Eritrea. If you're curious, well, here it is. The Tigray population makes up approximately 6% of the total Ethiopian population. How is that for Mr. or Dr. Rubin? Shouldn't that have been a concern to Dr. Rubin? I guess not. Whatever the motivation, monetary incentive, maybe, perhaps, I don't know. Maybe not, maybe yes, who knows? But it makes you wonder. Let us finish the quote. Meanwhile, Dr. Rubin continues to antagonize Eritrea. Isaias grows more erratic every year, he says. And he continues, Eritrean foreign and military policy has become the African equivalent of George Orwell's 1984. This is funny. There will always be a conflict, though. Isaias' allies and adversaries may change on a dime, depending on his mood or latest paranoia conspiracy. There you go. He's now Dr. Rubin. Last I checked, he is not a psychiatrist, but he's remotely labeling someone a paranoia. It is what it is. When you're trying to make a point, maybe a little buck on the side. Who knows what the motivation is these days. At any rate, consider this. Dr. Rubin's, the next one, that is the 2014 book, Dancing with the Devil, which boils down to this, that with rogue nations, remember what I said about rogue nations? Once you're labeled into that, it has a policy ramifications for the United States. And that's what he is trying hard. He's trying to make it fit, but it ain't going to fit. That with rogue nations, he says, must there not be negotiations for peace. We should never negotiate about peace with rogue nations. That's his take. The only way to convince these rogue nations, he says, is through the threat of force. Dr. Rubin is an expert on the Middle East, mind you. His position then, as it is now, to destabilize nations that he deems a threat. A threat to who? He was in the support of demise of Iraq's Saddam Hussein, Gaddafi's Libya, Hosni Mubarak of Egypt. Apart from the latter, the first to continue to struggle in forming a stable country or a nation state. So then what Dr. Rubin wants is instability. That's fair game, right? That's what he's trying to do in Eritrea, and he's telling us so. The only country that remains stable and secure in the Horn of Africa, mind you, is Eritrea. Look at what's going on in Sudan, thanks to the intervention of those other external forces. Hopefully, as the latest AAN media's analysis about finances that the United States is taking positions on policy-wise that Trump signed, the new American administration will look at three things, we're being told. And after taking the oath of office to be sworn, Mr. Rubio, Marco Rubio, promised that every action taken by the State Department will be determined by the answers to the three questions, he says. Does it make the United States stronger? Does it make the United States safer? And does it make the United States more prosperous? So three things: stronger, safer, and prosperous. So let's put that to the litmus test. I'll let you decide, of course. Viewers, you can decide for yourselves, but here's what I see. If Eritrea's case violates any of the three questions that the new Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, promised will ask before taking any action. All right, so does destabilizing Eritrea make the United States stronger? Hardly. Emphatic no, in fact. Does destabilizing Eritrea make the United States safer? Another emphatic no. Does destabilizing Eritrea make the United States more prosperous? Well, one can say, duh, of course it does. If and only if the United States occupies Eritrea the way Israel is occupying Palestine. Even then, I'm afraid a population that has savored the meaning of freedom, territorial integrity, a nascent nation, a 33 years old country, the people will fight like you know what. They've been through hell, and they're not going to let any other hell come touch the country. Mark my word on this one. So you'll be messing with the wrong population. And that's what I got to say. Dr. Mike Rubin, you are in your country shielded by two oceans, Atlantic and Pacific Ocean, and you're trying to play war hawk by means of remote control. That's not going to work in Eritrea. It might have worked in other places in the Middle East, but not in Eritrea. Period. Alrighty, thanks for listening. Bye.